Hi and welcome to this week's podcast. This is me, Kavanagh-Thomas, writer, creative and healer. And this week I'm with the amazing Rosalyn Palmer. Rosalyn Palmer is a transformational therapist. She is well versed in NLP and life experience, worked with some incredible people around the world. Tony Robbins, semi-retired. You retired, didn't you, by the age of 40? Am I right?
Allegedly.
Yeah. Lived in the Bahamas. What can I say? Because you've done so much, like PR, charity work, but you've also been through many life changes as well, life challenges, so to speak, as well. It's never, it's not been an entirely easy ride, has it?
No, it hasn't. And I think the difference between if I'd have spoken about it 10 years ago and now is I genuinely believe I chose it. I genuinely believe I chose it now. So all of those moments of going, why, and what's going on, and why how come this is happening? I don't have those anymore. I see it all as other people have labeled it more than me, to be honest. I think when you're living a life, you don't necessarily label it, and I've been speaking a lot particularly since I wrote my book Reset, which I think at the time 4 years ago was exactly how I felt. I felt that so many times in my life I'd had to hit that reset button, like you do on a computer. It's like, okay, I'm going to reset my life, which it's very easier said than done. And like you say, come from great success and then great loss. And other people have labeled it, as I say. So I was on a Clubhouse room and an American woman said, "Oh, you've turned your mess into a message." And I'm like, okay. Thanks. I don't like to refer to my entire life as a mess, but there we go. And so yes, there've been some elegant ways that I've come through things, and there've been some not so elegant ways. But the difference is now, I've learned from all of them. The difference is now that, particularly given my transformational therapy training and my coaching insights, etc., I have a lot of compassion for that woman who was going through the mess often in the past. So, so I'm at an interesting juxtaposition of having had a big, successful marketing and PR life, an interesting, let's move to the Bahamas and retire at 40 life, let's have it all implode and cancer and divorce and get through all of that life. And where I'm at now with my acting training. But I bring a very intuitive and empathetic, life experience to it, I suppose. So that's who I am and where I'm at.
And I think that's really beautiful, because the conversation that we were having just before, coming on here, and what I tend to genuinely love is going on the collective energy of whatever's going on right now. And I did explain this to you right at the beginning, that I went through the energy right now, and it actually just fitted with everything that you actually do. So a lot of people have incredible lives from what we can see. They have everything that they want and more. Everything's paid for, life is incredible, it looks incredible, and basically they can do more or less of whatever they want to do. And then at the same time, many people are feeling lost and they want to achieve something of their own. They were the words that came out. And we were kind of agreeing that we both have kind of resonated with this in some way. And we were both talking about patience.
Yeah.
The art of that, because I was reading your bio as well. I mean, I know you do a lot on, the inner calm, and feeling calm.
Inner balance as well. I'm not sure it's always calm, I'll be honest. I do manage calmness. I've had to work at it. to be honest. It's probably not my natural default setting. And I think many people that is the challenge, that it's so alien to them that when you talk about mindfulness or going within or inner calm, they're like, nope, that's just not going to happen. You know, I was the woman in the 90s who went on a transcendental meditation course and was asked to leave. So, you know, you're right. It is the calm. But I think the word balance probably resonates with people for whom the word calm seems so alien.
And not only that as well, if it depends on how, and as you quite rightly mentioned as well, a lot of the time, you know, the internal body is unable to feel calm because its default setting is to keep you safe.
Yeah.
So if its default setting is to keep you safe, if you're doing anything that seems quite big or seems outside of your own comfort zone, the body itself will react in certain ways to like kind of go, right, I'm going to do the washing today, or I'm just going to do something else. Oh, I'm going to freeze.
Totally. Look, one of my favorite phrases is that we're just cavemen with very nice haircuts and nice clothes, you know.
Oh, I love that.
You know, so the limbic amygdala, you know, that primitive part of our brain, that is what you're referring to. We're all wired for survival, and that's why we're here, because clearly our ancestors survived and passed the genes down, and that's why we're talking now. They only had really three options, which was exactly what you're saying: fight, flight, or freeze. And the trouble is, we get a kind of a default setting, and our primitive part of our brain and then the rest of our brain and our subconscious kind of goes, well, that's working. You know, that's working. We'll keep that default setting going. So you're right, with a lot of people, when faced with a lot of challenges or adversity or difficult situations, their natural default setting may well be fight, you know, push on through, let's go on through. That's always worked for me. That works for me really well. And that was probably my default setting for most of the 90s and the 80s when I was in PR and marketing. And look, it made me rich. It made me successful, you know, from society's evaluation. But it made me absolutely freaking miserable as well, and exhausted and hanging on by my fingernails. And then the cancer came later. So I now know that I am a very interesting balance of right and left brain, yin and yang. And even in the 90s, when I did the PR for people like Tony Robbins, and you see Tony Robbins today, I've got all the time in the world for Tony Robbins, but it's very yang energy. It's very, whoa, push on through, let's do a firewall. I can do this, just do it, you know, make your power move, go ahead, walk across the hot coals. And of course, that is incredibly liberating. And sometimes, of course, that is necessary. Probably if you are in a war zone or in a life or death situation, you know, it's not about strategy.
Yeah.
But we don't know the difference. And so every day when we're stressed at work, stressed in our relationships, etc., if our default setting is that one, it's exhausting, absolutely and utterly exhausting. And so that's why calm does not actually seem like it's available to us. You know, so I've had to learn that sometimes the best thing to do is to do nothing. I used to go to a really great retreat called Juicy Oasis in Portugal, and they have a big sign as you're checking in at reception, and it says sometimes the only way to go forward is to retreat.
That is incredible.
It's great, isn't it? And it says everything. It says everything. And so for me, I think The Secret, and I've read The Secret, I've seen the film, I know quite a lot of people in it, but for me, the real secret is, where do you find that balance, and where do you draw the line between yin and yang? You and I were talking before, you know, you started to record. I had a group course. I have a group course. It's running now. And although I have a background in PR and marketing, I don't like selling it. You know, I love putting it together. I love it once it's up and running. I love having the people on it. But, you know, that process of, please come and be on my course, you'll really like it. You know, I actually don't enjoy it. And I was at that point where I was like, I'm really not enjoying this. And this internal voice was going, oh, you know what? I think this is your soul telling you to let go, just let go, let it go. But then there's this other part of me going, but if you push a bit more, maybe you'll get through. And so that for me is the secret. That for me is, and it's nirvana when you get it right. It's knowing where the balance between those two things is.
Agreed. And you can feel it as well.
You can
really feel it. And the word that came up was sometimes, like with that push energy, it's almost like bypassing. You're bypassing your own, like
totally. You're not thinking about you're not nuanced. You're not kind of going, and how do I feel today?
Yeah. And no, that's like, how do I feel? How do I feel
like that? I go to the beach every week, and I've gone every week for the whole of summer and a long time. And I do other things. I do Pilates 3 times a week. I get 8 to 9 hours sleep every night. These are my musts. These are my must-have. These are the things I know I need to keep me balanced, to keep me sane, to let me let go, to let me get out of my head. These are the things I know I need. And so the more you have of those checks and balances, then the other me, the left brain, right brain, yin yang, when she's at her yang, she can kick into her yin, but I will listen to myself. And even if I've got quite a busy day planned, if I'm really not feeling it or not feeling great, as long as I'm not actually letting anybody down, like a client with an appointment and they're really, looking forward to it, I wouldn't do that. But, if it's something that's movable, then I'll move it and I'll go to the beach.
Yeah. And you know what? I completely hear you on that as well. And I know that, with a lot of people who are feeling lost and, they feel like they want to achieve more, sometimes it is that kind of almost like getting fed up with the, hey, we're going in the same direction again, the same pattern, rather than like going, hey, you know what, I'm actually going to take some time out today. Because sometimes we have those lives where we can actually do that. We have those lives where we can kind of like move away and go, okay, well, I'm going to take a moment over here by myself for a little while and take some, time out, like, you, as you quite rightly mentioned, going to the beach, maybe just moving your diary around a little bit just so you can like take that time, because full well as soon as you come back, you have that energy that you need, that you can muster up to do the things that you really, really want to do.
The trouble is, and here's, I'm going to let you into a, behind the scenes secret, because when I was in PR, I was the power behind the throne. I worked with celebrities, pop stars, royalty, really famous people. I moved to the Bahamas. I lived amongst them. I was relatively seen as a great success myself, but I know, like the Wizard of Oz, what's going on behind the curtain. Like the great and powerful Oz is what's being said outside, and then you pull the curtain back and there's an old bloke kind of turning a really rubbish mechanical
shadow self, isn't it?
Yes, well, exactly. So I know what it's like behind the curtain, and it's not great for a lot of people. And I think I said to you earlier that I lived in the Bahamas for 5 years, and then I was head of marketing and communications for an international charity, the Leprosy Mission, dealing with arguably the world's most poorest and marginalized people in the world. And so I spent a lot of time in Africa and India. And I can tell you for nothing that if I said to you, oh, hi, I'm doing a fundraiser for, people with leprosy in Nigeria or Ethiopia or Mozambique, if you were charitable, you'd be quite predisposed to maybe helping. But if I said I'm doing a fundraiser for people who live on the beach in the Bahamas, people would kind of go, I'm sorry, why would those people who live that amazing life need my money? Well, here's the deal. Because most of the people aren't living that amazing life, for a start, I think half of Bahamians live below the poverty line. But even the ones who are living the life that we glorify, that we say, oh, isn't that amazing? Look, they've got the big house, they've got the big car, isn't it fantastic? Well, you only need to watch any Netflix or any other channel documentary about Whitney Houston, about Amy Winehouse, about Robin Williams, about Michael Jackson, Janet Jackson, all of these people. And I remember I'd moved back to the UK from the Bahamas, and my whole life had imploded. This was definitely the mess, the mess time. I'd gone from being, super successful, big house in London, sell my company, move to the Bahamas, and now I was in a rented house in Arnold, Nottingham, with 2 kids, single unemployed mother. So it was, quite a change in circumstances. And I used to get the kids to bed, and I used to have a bath, and I'd lie in the bath, and I'd listen to on my little transistor radio, listen to the local radio station, and they had a phone in. And one night they had this phone in. It was just when Britney Spears had her child on her lap in the car, and loads of people had taken a photograph. And the vitriol was unbelievable. What a terrible mother. She's not fit to be a mother, and she should be ashamed of herself, blah, blah, blah. So I rang in and I said to the person who answered the phone, "Oh, hi, if you cut me, I bleed. Look, she's a human being. She's probably going through a really difficult time. And can you imagine how awful it must be for her, hearing all of this and being stressed?" And anyway, we're putting you on air. And I went on air. I went on air with the immortal words of "I'm in the bath." And then the guy went, "Well, you better not splash." And I was like, "I'm lying there in my bath."
Oh my God.
So I made these points, and I said, look, I've seen behind the curtain, and I see what the reality is behind a lot of those people in those big houses are very lonely, very empty, very disconnected, not connected with themselves, not at peace with themselves, afraid that it will all go away because they can't get off the hedonistic treadmill. They can't step back and go, I would just like some peace. It's like, no, you need to bring a new album out. You need to star in a new movie. You need to make another million. And it changed the tenure of the phone in, interestingly enough. A lot of people who rang in afterwards kind of went, I feel a bit ashamed, actually, because I didn't really, in a way, I didn't think of her as being a human being. And now what do we know about Britney Spears? The whole Free Britney, she shaved her head. We know she was going through hell at that time. So I'm actually proud that I, from my bath, made that. And I work with a lot of people like that now. I work with a lot of people who on the outside look like it's all going on, it's all great. And I know, they know it's not, but they don't know how to fix it.
Yeah. And that's the thing, and you quite rightly mentioned, me and my daughter had a conversation yesterday about Madonna, because that's been a massive thing all over the internet. And me and my daughter just looked at each other and we were like, you know what, 64 years old to just be her, like she must just think, yeah, you know what, this is what I'm going to do right now. Because we were looking at some of the comments, and some of the comments were like, you're 64 years old, you should grow old gracefully. And I'm like thinking, hold on, that could be a narrative actually that we get told, that is the thing that we are meant to do as we get older. We're just meant to grow old gracefully, rather than just living your life and just, if you want to,
and particularly women.
Yes.
Look, yeah. I'm sure you haven't got the time, or the inclination, but if you had both, you could Google, say, Liz Truss or Hillary Clinton or any female politician, and you will see that along with the scrutiny for their policies and their decisions, which we can all say maybe aren't always great, that Liz Truss, I know, will have been scrutinized for her suit, for her haircut, for her necklace, for her shoes, for the expression she was wearing, if she looked old, if she was wearing too much makeup, too little makeup. Rishi Sunak, not so much, I don't think. I don't think you're going to see loads of editorial going, I don't think that pinstripe suit quite set his eyes off.
But you are completely right. And this is what we were on about. Me and my daughter were on about this. What is acceptable in society as a woman, and, as a woman, you're not allowed to make mistakes or get things wrong because you're a good little girl, almost. So we were having that kind of like conversation, and we were kind of like, it doesn't matter which age range anyone is at, everyone is open for that. It's almost like a fair game type thing.
Totally.
And we found it quite, no wonder people feel lost sometimes.
Can you imagine? I don't like it if I upset a friend, or I get a not great email from somebody. I don't like it. Funnily enough, we don't like it.
No.
Can you imagine if every day you were on the receiving end of all of that vitriol just because of how you look or who you are? And look, men get it as well. Interestingly, something very interesting has happened in the last couple of years with me. I used to probably have a 60-40 ratio, women to men, 60% women, 40% men. It's changed. I'm probably doing 60-40 the other way around now, I would say. Most of the people who are booking in with me at the moment, certainly for long-term coaching and therapy, are men. And that whole toxic masculinity, that whole I've got to look powerful all the time, I mustn't look weak, they get it in different ways, okay? But again, it's this, what I like to call rules, which are bullshit rules. The rules of society are, you should look great, or you should be strong, or if you have a big house and everything, you should be happy. You should be delighted because other people can't pay their rent. And look, I get that. I've stood amongst people who owned nothing and lived in underpasses in Mumbai and literally owned a tin cup. So I know what real poverty's like, and I know what real wealth's like. I've mixed with billionaires. There isn't a recipe for happiness. I mean, clearly, you need your fundamental human needs met. You need shelter, you need sanitation, you need all the things we need. But there's absolute proof, there's lots of research that after a certain amount, more does not bring more happiness. In fact, it's usually counterproductive, actually.
Wow, that is amazing. And that is a really nice thing to end on as well. Before we end, I wanted to, because every podcast that I do, I always do a card reading. So I always choose something from the tarot deck. And it's really funny that I actually chose this card from the tarot deck today, because I didn't even know what the hell we were going to talk about. And I didn't realize that it was actually going to be all about balance. And the Temperance card was the one that came out, that kind of masculine, feminine energy, the divine masculine, divine feminine, the interweaving of energies, and knowing when to use them and how to use them for their own, for our own benefit. And I kind of felt like that went really solely perfect with what you were and what you have been actually talking about. And especially for men and women, I feel like it's really important at this moment in time that these conversations get raised, because everyone has a point in their life where they may feel like they're lost, or maybe they want to achieve something more. But sometimes it sounds like we need to pause as well, just so we can understand which way we're going next, or where we're going next. Have I got that right?
Listen to the voice within. Listen to your intuition as well.
Beautiful. Let everyone know where we can find you.
So my website is www.rosalynpalmer.com. That's ROSALYNPALMER.com. My email is hello@rosalynpalmer.com. And if you just type Rosalyn Palmer in any search engine, I'm sure I'll turn up quite a lot. I love connecting on LinkedIn. It's where I post mostly, because obviously a lot of my clients are corporates, kind of business people. But I have blogs. I've got lots of freebies on my website. I've got a newsletter, so sign up for it. And despite my marketing and PR background, you can vouchsafe for this, Trina. I won't give you the big sell. So I'm a bit more field of dreams. I've built it and they will come. The right people find me.
Yeah. And I think that is really beautiful. We build it and then they will come. And it's really funny because I love your book, by the way.
Thank you. Yeah. I'm recording it. I'm just about to record it.
Really?
Next week, I'm in London 2 days in a recording studio. So just before Christmas, my book is finally coming out on Audible and as an audio book.
So I'm just holding up the book now. Obviously, this is on a podcast, but the book Reset. And that's when I first met you, actually, when I bought your book. And then you signed it for me as well. I'm really, really honoured to have a signed version.
Oh,
and I take it into the sauna with me. I do. So every so often, like I'll go, oh God, I'm going to pick a book today. And a lot of the time I'll choose this book. And I'll just pick a page. But yeah, I'll read it in the sauna. So yeah.
I'm very proud. It won an award within its first week of publication. And it is, you know, I'm revisiting it now, obviously 4 years later, because I'm about to record it. And I keep going, oh, there's actually some quite good stuff in here, isn't there? So, yes, Reset, a blueprint for a better life, which is kind of semi-autobiographical of the things I've been through, but gives you a blueprint and a roadmap for a better life.
Yeah, I love it as well. Right. Thank you very much, Rosalyn, for joining us today. And thank you, everyone, for listening as well. And I'll be back next time with another incredible soul. So I will see you very soon. Speak soon. Bye.